books we never would have even touched back in the day. Like,
I would agree. That's the most exciting part, is like all this stuff is just like, well, yeah, I had like 5 or 6 titles or 5 or 6 writers, artists that I always thought did good work. And now I'm being exposed to so much more, because there's only so much you can afford and absorb as a kid. And as your taste change, it's really cool. Now I'm being exposed to so much more.
Let me turn down my volume, which is us talking. Sorry.
So professional here.
Yeah, no, that's how we do it. That's how we do it.
It's live, baby.
It's live, and we're using YardStream or StreamYard, and we're in the yard and we're streaming. It's great talking to you guys, and I love the times we've been on your podcast and really break down the minutia of Wizard. So it's awesome. I know we've had a pretty exciting year at the Dollar Bin Bandits. We've put out the most episodes that we've had in the years that we've been doing this. We've gotten up to 3 episodes a week, which is exhausting, but it's fun nonetheless. We've had some pretty great, most downloaded episodes have been Roy Thomas, Ann Ascenti, Mike Carlin, Paul Levitz, and Paul Kupperberg, who have returned. Bob Budiansky, Tom Brevoort returning. Brian Michael Bendis, which was freaking amazing, and Peter Bagg. And we've had just a ton of solo episodes, Mike and Oren, and I had the chance to get in there a couple of times too. So what were some of your favorite episodes that we covered, guys? Mike, Oren, anyone?
Well, I mean, some of these I think are some of our best episodes. Obviously, the names are more recognizable. I kind of wonder why Roy Thomas was number 1. Totally non-controversial figure in comics this year. No, I mean, seriously, I thought it was a great episode. And, we got to ask him about the heart of the matter, about Wolverine's origin. Nobody really commented. So I'm wondering if people were very curious, but didn't kind of want to wade into any kind of commentary. But certainly he was number 1 with a bullet. Oren did a great job with Ann Ascenti. Mike Carlin was our first episode this year, and it was great. He was finally sort of released from the DC chains or PR chains for a while there while he was still working for DC. I don't think he was ready or able to talk with us. And then, all the rest of these guys, I really like talking about the trading cards with Bob Budiansky and Tom Brevoort. That's just fun. I remember that even though that was a non-comic book thing, I mean, in terms of it wasn't a comic book, it was probably one of the first things that got me really into comics, was getting that first series.
I still have my binder right here of all those
awesome
cards.
Mine's right there.
I was enthralled by that entire conversation. It was so good.
Yeah. It was so interesting to hear how it came about and how they put together the power charts on the back. And then also about these, chase cards, which I tried to get into them. I don't think we really got into it as much as I wanted to, which is why they didn't sort of take the idea of having these rare chase cards and map it onto comics. Like, it would have happened, the whole thing with variant covers would have happened like 10, 15, 20 years earlier if they had sort of learned that lesson. Maybe we didn't want them to because variant covers may be a little out of control. But anyway, that was probably one of my favorite conversations. And now I'll give other people some time to talk.
I agree. I love the trading card one. For me personally, just as a sort of when we started this and it finally happened, to be able to talk to Rich Coase, Spenguli, it's been a long time in the making to get that to happen. And it finally did happen. He couldn't have been nice enough. So many people to thank Jim Roach, his producer, and Bill Leff, our buddy, helped get that done. So that, for me personally, that's my favorite, because that's the guys up there on my Mount Rushmore of coolest people ever. What about you, JoJo?
Yeah, for me, I absolutely loved our Bendis episode. I mean, he's done so much. He's a very high profile comic book figure. And, you know, I had a chance to kind of touch on his work on Superman, even though I had some beef with it personally. But he was just very, very giving with his time. Wasn't afraid of any topic. Didn't really hold back, and he's done so much, and I love his point of view. So that was probably my favorite, up there with the Ghost Machine crew too. So yeah,
I mean, I have to say that the one that you just dropped fairly recently, the Mike Allred interview, as a Madman fan and just like loving his work, I learned so much more. Like I thought I knew a lot of stuff, and then there were like just little tidbits in there that he was dropping in, like headcanon he had for like ecstatics connecting to the atomics and all this stuff. And I'm just like, I can't believe it. I didn't know that was part of the deal. So that was very exciting.
yeah, that was a really great episode, and I'm jealous that I wasn't on more episodes this year. Sorry.
And we also interviewed Mike Schwartz.
We did.
We did. Let's not forget, since we'll segue, as they call it, into comics, because that's why we're here, guys. Comics. We have a comic book creator in our midst here, Mr. Michael Schwartz. How's it going? Your microphone is muted.
You're muted.
Oh, the
My-
modern
my-
conundrum.
My kid was screaming in the background, and I have no idea if you can even see me because the video is frozen for me now.
We
No,
can
we
hear
see
you.
We
You can
see
hear
you.
me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay, so I shouldn't take off my clothes, is what you're saying?
I mean,
Not
you know,
yet.
let's
Not yet.
count it
I
out.
assume none of us are wearing pants. So
When you see the
I've
code
never
word-
worn pants in any of the episodes.
see, you learn things on these specials.
Why start now?
Well, I hope mine wasn't the worst rated episode of the season for you guys or the year. But yeah, that was a good chat I had with Mike. We had a good time.
We had a good time, and I know you did a lot of press and a lot of podcasts and stuff. So I'm just assuming we were the best one.
Makes sense.
And yeah, you're doing a great job with Armored, by the way. And should we talk? I mean, I was like, this is going to come up organically, and now I'm just squeezing it in. But
No, we're going to discuss comics next anyway.
let's talk,
so let's
let's
do
talk
it.
about the Kickstarter now that we're talking about Armored. What do you guys
Yeah.
got going on?
Well, half issues are back, everybody. If you are a 90s comic book fan, you know, Dollar Bin Bandits, they cover all decades. These great, just everybody, Golden Age people, everybody. But half issues were such a big thing in the 90s, right? And so we host a podcast that for the last 5 years has been all about the 90s. Wizard Magazine created this concept of a half issue exclusive mail away comic only available if you bought the issue. And we said, why hasn't anybody brought that back? Why are we not seeing half? And wouldn't you know it, Mike Schwartz joins our podcast. He is the host as of 2024, my co-host here. Hey, you make a comic. What if we did a half issue of your comic? Okay, which he was all for. So we've been working on that for a year. That is now on Kickstarter. It's running for 2 weeks, our campaign. We've already met our goal. In less than a day, less than half a day, in like 9 hours, we met our goal. But there are add-ons, there are all these things. But Mike, you have to tell them there's a 10-page original Armored story. If you're a fan of Armored, you want to continue that. But I should have come up with this idea, and I did not. Mike said, what if we did something else with this issue? What if we flipped it over? Tell them about it, Mike.
Yeah, I really thought, like, if we're doing a half issue, we should really make a wizard-related content. So when you flip the book over, you're getting a still Armored content, but you're also getting wizard-related Armored content. So, like, you remember the last Man Standing, where they'd pit two characters against each other?
Yeah.
So we do something like that, where it's the Ghost character from Armored fighting other ghost-related superheroes, and we brought a co-host of Wizards in to do all that artwork for us. He's actually a Marvel artist.
Yeah,
Adam.
Philip Seavey has been like a frequent guest. We're like, Phil, what do you say, buddy? And he loves Wizard Magazine so much. He's like, yes, I'm on board for this. So we have professional, new, original comics art in there. But also the thing that we're doing is we have a history of the half idea. So we've actually interviewed Wizard staffers and Gareb Shamus and all these people who were involved to map that out. How did this come to be? How long did it last? What are the key issues in half issues? Plus, we have a complete visual guide to every half issue release. That's never been done. Wizard never did that. It's not on any website. I mean, this is an original, a unique and exclusive thing you get in there. Plus, I mean, there's so much more. We have parody comic strips by Brian Douglas Ahern, who used to do cartooning in Wizard Magazine. If you remember the calendars that were on the back of the posters, we got that guy. And he's created an original comic strip. I mean, there's so many Easter eggs also that we're peppering in there that you're going to be like, this is Wizard Magazine again. Wizard Magazine, this is as close as I'm going to get. Like in the style, in the design, just everything. So we're so excited that people can get that. Again, just go to Kickstarter. You can search Armored Half. Is probably the easiest way to find it, and it'll pop right up and you can see what's available. Mike's even signing an armored casting call. That's a great idea. There's still time. We can add that in. We'll see.
Now, is there a Mort-O-meter in it?
I know we need more to the month. Here's the thing. There are certain pages that have a little space in them, and that's where we're cramming all these different, little features and ideas. There might be a CBIQ in there, if you remember those little trivia things that you could go through in the back of the magazine. So like I say, every space will be filled with something to hit that nostalgia button.
A contest. We're going to do a contest to win a suit of armor.
It's a parody.
It's a parody.
No actual suit of armor will be awarded.
I love the half issues back when Wizard was publishing, and I specifically remember, I think one of the ones I have, maybe the only one I have, is Max.
Oh, yeah.
Sam Keith's creation, Max 1/2. And it was just so cool. Just the whole era of sending away for stuff. I'm sort of sad that that's, come to a close to some degree, even though I guess it really can't happen because everybody can have everything at their fingertips within a click. But those were so great. I remember, the G.I. Joe send away figures. It was like Refrigerator Perry, right? And the glow-in-the-dark Emperor from Jedi, Return of the Jedi. I love this. I love the send away stuff. So I'm definitely looking forward to this.
Since we're discussing this, I have to ask: does anybody remember there was a figure from one of those sendaways that you could basically create his name, or anything that you wanted? I guess if either a G.I. Joe or Cobra, and it was kind of like I think he had a helmet and the whole uniform and gun and everything. And
I remember seeing it. The order form was in an Alf comic that I bought in 1988, and it was on the back, and I was like, "Oh, this is so cool!"
Yeah, I've never ever seen that figure. I don't know if anyone's come across it in their travels, but I mean, it was one of those sendaways with the special edition Sergeant Slaughter, or the pseudo Rocky figure. But
oh, Sergeant Slaughter. I remember that was definitely a big send away one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was the same as any other, just he had a green shirt instead of a black shirt, and he had a tank and all that nonsense.
Yeah. Love it.
It wasn't nonsense, Joe. That's America.
It wasn't nonsense because we loved it, but looking back at it, we were like, really the only difference is this t-shirt.
Well, I remember one said USA on it.
Right. One was USA. Right.
And I know there was an LJN Sergeant Slaughter wrestling figure that I think that was also a mail away thing. I don't think you could just buy that on a card and off a peg. So
I think you're right.
What was it about Sergeant Slaughter that you had to mail away for his figures?
Oh, speaking of which, that's a good tie-in as we wrap up the Armored Half. Our cover artist, Adam Riches, the cover of the first side that's the comic is an homage to Spider-Man Unlimited #1. It's the Ron Lim cover with Carnage and everything.
Right, with Carnage,
So But Adam Riches, who's the artist for that, he just designed the packaging for the most recent Sergeant Slaughter figure that was released by Hasbro. So I mean, there's a connection there.
Yeah, what a
all
great
comes
tie.
back to Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah, that's the theme of the episode so far.
Talk about him. And I ran into him as a kid. That was hilarious.
I remember that.
So before we get
anyway,
into it, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, so we only have 500 printed copies that we're offering. You can get a digital copy of Armored Half. That's, can go internationally. But it is ending the campaign on December 20th. So if you want to get it before they're gone, make sure you hop on over to Kickstarter and find the Armored Half campaign. So
yeah, we'll put that in the add that to the show notes, the link, and everybody, all of you banditos out there and geeks, please go pick up this One Half comic. Before we get into our next section, this is a good segue into Kickstarter, which I think has always been making leaps and bounds, but I think particularly this year, there have been more comic book projects and more major comic book projects that have come out on Kickstarter than I think any other time. We're constantly doing, tie-ins with some of our episodes that are for Kickstarter campaigns. What do you guys think of this? Is it getting too crowded? Are there too many comics? Because they're the big publishers are in here. Like Todd McFarlane, for instance, even though he didn't do a publishing project, he did a figure, and you would think he has enough distribution, he could get a figure, do whatever he wants. So it's really a crowded marketplace now. What do you guys think about Kickstarter and crowdfunding in general?
I have a lot of thoughts on it. I think in general, I feel like the whole comic industry is oversaturated. I don't know if you guys feel this way. Like there's just so many books, especially when it comes to like someone like Scott Snyder. He's releasing not just books for DC, but he also has books that are his creator-owned stuff, and I just don't know how. And then you have all people like myself who are trying to break in, and it's like, is there enough room? Are there enough readers for all of this? And I do wonder, how many people are actually going to the comic shop and just trying out books they've never heard before? Like, do you walk in there and say, I'll try that. I've never heard of that.
I don't go to many comic book stores because there's not many around me. But I would tend to agree with you that as a comic book fan, and doing what we do, the comic book world is highly oversaturated between comics and TV, movies, things that are out there. And I think the Kickstarters are a way for these creators to get their stuff funded because the big name companies have so much on their plate that, this is the only way that they're really going to get eyes on their content is if they kind of self-publish or create it on their own. I mean, look, DC and Marvel, they got their thing going. Image, I would say they're, in third place and they're banging on all cylinders. But their plates are full, I'm sure. So Kickstarter is, the next best thing. But at the same time, they're getting funded.
They are.
As saturated as the market may be, all these things are getting funded. Look at yours.
Yeah, no. And
you cleared your goal.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, all these others, they're blasting past their goals in record time as well. So people are willing to spend the money on it. So that's a good sign.
I think someone like McFarlane, I think it's smart for him because if he were to drop that medieval Spawn just to Toys R Us, like how many units would he sell? And he'd probably have to have a lower price point. And that would also have to cover the shipping costs to Toys R Us. It'd have to cover all those other costs. So I feel like it's so smart of them to go direct to the consumer as opposed and cutting out, the big box stores or Amazon or whoever else is getting a piece. He gets to keep all that money, right? Like there's more money for the creator this way too.
I just question that, the man who has all the money in the world to spend on baseballs, and his company is just doing amazing. Why does he need to create? Why does he need a Kickstarter? Like, you understand why other people do, independent filmmakers and creators, why they're have Kickstarters to finance their projects, but he has his own company that pulls in millions of dollars, and he can fund it.
Well, to me, I think Kickstarter is the future. Like, we love our comic book stores, we have the fond memories, but I think it's going to be comics on demand within a decade. That's my prediction. I feel like we're going to be at a place where it's, hey, I'm doing this project. Do you want to read more of my stories? Do you want to read more of what I like? But honestly, I think that's where we're headed, because, with McFarlane, like, I think he just sees that. Like, he's like, I might as well get in now, and people realize, oh, I can, fund it, and everybody knows you want it. Okay, then we'll produce it, and then you get it. Like, I think that's just the model.
Well, I think he's also doing it just because he knows he makes more money. Like, it's way more money for him.
Yeah, because you're cutting out all the distribution middleman, and so he can make it, he can distribute it, and he makes probably more pure profit from it. But I think it's interesting, the point that you made. It seems a little bit like what's happening in TV, right? Going from cable to all these streaming services, and you kind of buy what you want, and then you can subscribe and unsubscribe as the shows come and go that you want to see. And it's really kind of viewer's choice. And so maybe that's happening with the comic industry as well.
Yeah.
I just kind of feel bad for the little guy who's, just a fan, wants to put a book out there. And now they're competing with these major players, in the comic industry. How are you going to get that money? How are you going to get people's eyes on your book to give it a chance when, there's all these huge names who are out there too? I mean, it's open to everyone, but I just remember when it first started out, it just seemed like it was a lot more fans like us putting out something out there because we couldn't get into Image, we couldn't get into DC or Marvel, and now, the playing field's gotten extra crowded.
Well, it's like our book, Armored, right now. Armored Half is up against Thundercats, right? Like, I do one. I'm sure the overlap isn't too big because not many people know about Armored still. But like, if you're a collector and you're like, oh, I like Thundercats, I also like Armored, I have a feeling they may be more drawn towards an IP as opposed to an untested property,
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. I will just say, I think it levels the playing field, because if you can build up enough of a following and get the word out on social media, whatever you're doing, it's like, the big boys are there, but now you're also there with them. And if people, again, are kind of tired of what they've seen for 30 years or 40 years from a certain creator, they want something new. And there you are, and they're starting to hear about it. It's coming through their feed on social media. They're like, that actually looks cool. It's the new version of just walking into the store, like Mike was saying, and seeing what's on the rack. Your social media feed say, oh, what's that book? I'm going to check that one out. Let me go to their Kickstarter. So I don't know. I think there's a little bit of pros and cons, but I see a lot more pros ultimately.
I think they probably need some type of outlet for independent creators that really kind of promotes them, and I don't know if anything like that exists.
Well, Zoop, have you jumped into Zoop yet?
No.
Check it out, Zoop. I think that's the issue is I don't know how well the creators do on Zoop versus Kickstarter, and it's also pure comics over on Zoop.
Oh.
Like the Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. What's his name? Patrick Horvath. Is that his name? Did I get his name right?
I don't know.
Let's pretend you did, because I don't.
Okay.
Maybe
we're familiar.
Yeah, Patrick, of course. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. He had his, that book has done really well, but his second book he did on Zoop, but it's obviously not as big of a hit as Beneath the Trees was. So I think people still have to go to Kickstarter if they want to. It's just still the better outlet. But what you're asking for, I think is Zoop a bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Check it out.
Yeah, corrected.
I mean, I think we're in this kind of wild west of experimentation and where the whole market is going to go. And I don't think we know right now. I don't think it's like settled, but certainly Kickstarter is, one of the avenues that it could just all consolidate there. I don't know. It'll be interesting. We'll see. I think it's just kind of, it's just going to be weird and woolly for a while. So anyway,
but in the meantime, support your local shop.
Support your local shops.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
Support your creators. Support, everybody that's trying to make a living in this industry, because it is a small industry and it is one that needs constant support from all of you out there that are fans. Speaking of which, so we wanted to, as Comic Book Podcast, we wanted to talk a little bit about the year in comics. Some of us, like Oren and myself to a certain degree, and maybe others, don't see a lot of the new stuff. I'm kind of aware of it from my social media feeds, but haven't read a lot of it. But I would love to kind of go around the horn and see what people thought were maybe either the biggest comic book news or biggest series or book that came out this year that you guys were into. Just as a reminder, I put a few bullets there of some of the stuff that I remember happening this year. One is the DC's Absolute line, which came out the later part of this year. I think they've already launched Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Kelly Thompson we had on talking about Wonder Woman. And I think there are plans for more of those characters. Mark Waid had a big year. He just seems to be like the king of DC right now. Batman and Superman, Justice League, Absolute Power, did Shazam for a little while, him and Dan Mora. Who did I compare them to? Some movie guys that I'll have to remember later. There was Blood Hunt from Marvel, sets up Doctor Doom as Sorcerer Supreme. Joe Quesada started a new company called Amazing Comics. Stuff hasn't come out from it yet, but I know there's a slate coming from him. So a lot going on. I'll end it there of just some of the ideas, but why don't we... Oren, can we start with you? What have you even heard of in the past year?
I remember you guys talking about the Absolute line. So
Yeah.
people, our friend Eddie from the Batcave has a show, and I watch every week, and he's been reading those books, and he's been saying that they've been very well written. They're easy kind of jump into, and really sort of taking the characters on a new path they might not have been on before. So it sounds like that's been a pretty popular series.
So
It's almost
good.
like it's their Ultimates line, right? In some ways.
Yeah.
I'm playing catch up with that. I'm behind a few months in comics. I haven't read a whole hell of a lot this year, but I'm catching up with Mark Waid's stuff, especially his Justice League and like all his like World's Finest that he did earlier this year, and then Absolute as well. I mean, it's really cool. It's fun, but they do this a lot. They do these like kind of shake-ups, and then they're gonna come back to normal again at some point.
Never.
No,
It's world changing. Nothing will ever be the same.
no, never. What we need is a crisis.
Yes.
Of course.
We haven't had enough of
crisis.
those.
We need another crisis.
Adam, what about you?
So this has been a big year for me because having Mike as my co-host, he loves new comics. He got me into the shops again after 20 years of not going into shops on a regular basis. Every Wednesday I go now, and I know what I'm looking for. And there's been a ton of stuff I've discovered. You guys brought it up a couple times. I'll just say we actually started our own YouTube show for a couple months because I was so excited. It was the Wednesday Rewind, where we were literally just going through what the books we let everybody vote. So for example, I did grab Mark Waid's World's Finest, but I had to get this cover, which is like Neil Batman 89, which is just such a cool cover there. I love that. But I ended up reading so much more DC and liking it and sticking with it than I ever thought I would. I loved this Gotham by Gaslight, the Kryptonian Age. I bought all those issues. It's now spinning off into a Justice League set in that time, so I'm really looking forward to that.
That was Andy Diggle, right?
Yeah, good
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
had him on to talk about that. It sounded fascinating. I've not read it yet,
Oh, it's
as
really
is my
fun.
pattern. I will read it probably now.
I'll get to it.
Yeah.
Spider-Man Raid 2 was probably my most anticipated, just because I
yeah.
loved the original. It's a beautiful book. The story is a mess. I don't know what's going on in here. It's time travel. It's got some moments that pop, but there's not a lot. But I still bought every issue because just Carr Andrews and all his stuff just really amazes me. Of course,
He's been doing a lot of 90s inspired covers lately,
Right.
which are just like,
Yeah.
I love seeing just like over the top splashy stuff.
yeah, I mean that's what this book is. It feels like Image, again.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, I'll splash, I'll flash. Geiger is another consistent series from Ghost Machine.
Yeah.
Mike turned me on to this, and I'm loving every issue. Plus, it's set in Montana, where I live. So, like, all the stuff I'm reading, like, I know that town. This is what it looks like after the apocalypse? Okay. But speaking of 90s, I will just also say the 0 Hour one-shot special was a gift. That was a gift for the 90s kids out there. It was great to have that, just like the art, the story, all of it. And last thing, Creep. I've picked up all 3 issues of this so far, anthology horror. But this is a Spider-Man McFarlane homage. And the first story in this issue 3, if you pick up no other issue, it's called The Murder Variant. And it's great. It is by Chris Condon. And it is about this guy who has a rare comic that he finds for cheap in a back issue bin. Somebody doesn't know what they have, and then it gets damaged, and then it leads to some things that happen. And you're like, oh no, so but a comic book collector fan can relate to it. It's so good. So those have been like these big ones for me, and there's been a lot of misses for Marvel. I'll just say that. Tried a lot of Marvel, liked almost none of it. I'm kind of disappointed.
Ellie Tarantino agrees.
On
Rain 2. As well as that Creep Show.
Yeah, the Creep Show's awesome.
I was going to turn to Michael next. I'm not sure what the
I'm
of
here.
his...
My whole, literally nothing is working with my video on. I'm like, what? Are you guys seeing things perfectly fine, or is it just me?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Well, we just see like an icon.
We can see an icon. So
that's all you're getting.
That's fine. It's the words that are coming out of your mouth that count. So
you guys have
go
been
ahead.
frozen off and on so often that I'm like, I don't even know if I'm a part of the conversation anymore.
You're a beautiful dot, Mike.
Oh my God,
wow,
that's
nice.
That's all I've wanted to hear out of this day. This year has been awesome for indie books, in my opinion. Like, I am all in on Ghost Machine. I'm sure you guys are reading some Ghost Machine, but like Redcoat is my all-time favorite book of this year.
So much fun.
Redcoat, Geiger's great. I really like the Rockefellers start as well. It just started. But I don't know if any of you read Frankenstein, the book from Image and what is it?
Ellie Tarantino has.
Yes.
Our number one live stream fan.
Yeah.
All about it.
There's been some good stuff. Transformers is great. It's been an awesome year.
What about you, Mikey Farah?
Oh, well, that's a good question.
Good question. Owen.
Again, I'm not. Yeah.
What do you?
I just like to plant the seeds. I don't really like to cultivate the plants here. I haven't read a whole ton of new stuff. I would say a lot of what you showed, Adam, are the kind of comics that I want to get. I definitely want to get 0 Hour. Pick that up. As I said, the is his name pronounced Carrie? K-R?
I always say
Andrews,
Carr, but maybe it's
Carr.
Carrie.
Okay, yeah, I should probably look that up. We've been trying to get him on the show. But yes, I'd love to read some of his stuff, even including Rain 2, even if I'm just flipping through it. Every time, even a hot mess is sometimes worth a worth a
and
flip
let me
through.
tell you this. So recently, in an issue of Wizard we were covering, they were asking Kurt Busiek, who do you think is the new star of the future, the rising star of the 21st century? He names Carr Andrews before he'd really done anything. So maybe it's 24 years later. Now he's hitting his stride. It's coming true. The prophet, Kurt Busiek.
Yeah, exactly. Ghost Machine has been looks really intriguing. I want to pick all that stuff up. And Mark Waid, I actually have read some of the stuff from this year, and just him and Dan Moore are just phenomenal together. Dan, we had them on to talk about Shazam together. He seemingly can just draw 3 books at once. They all look phenomenal, and he's just a machine. And all the stuff looks great. So I'm looking forward to more from them. But before we get on to our next section, which around movies and TV, which Joe will introduce, I just wanted to make mention of some of these imprints and smaller houses that are kind of making a big impression. So there's Ghost Machine, which publishes through Image. There's Mad Cave Studios, which is doing a whole ton of stuff lately. Some licensed, some original. Ahoy Comics is doing a great amount of stuff, and they're trying to get sort of the lighter side of comics, which we don't really often talk about or see it very much anymore. Big Bang Comics is also, Oren interviewed Carlson, right?
Yep, and Ray McKay.
Gary, and Ray McKay over there. They're putting out some great books. And then I just have a slot for Jimmy Palmiotti because he throws 2, 3, 4 Kickstarters a year. He's his own publishing house at this point, but great stuff all around. But let's move into new media.
So there've been a few comic book properties on TV and in theater. We've seen a nice little independent film, really just kind of creep along, called Deadpool and Wolverine. I mean, who wants to see those guys? Let's not forget Madam Web. This is why we're here. My son watched that on TV and asked me, what in the hell is this about? And he's 9. He was so confused and disappointed. Wow,
I went to the theater for that, and I'm just like, this thing is out of control. And then my mom's like, what do you want for your birthday? I said, Madam Web on Blu-ray. I must relive this experience because I can't believe what they did.
You must hate your eyeballs. Yeah, I watched part of that and I turned it off.
It's The Room of superhero films. That's all I can say. If you guys know about The Room, that's what it is.
You're kidding me. Anyway. Oh, hi, Mark. Oren had the pleasure of watching Joker.
I did. I watched it.
Tell us a little bit about Joker, Oren.
Joker is...
Can you pronounce the subtitle?
No. I won't try to insult the French people. I'll say it was a movie that they used cameras to film, and there were microphones and lights, and so they made a movie, and different people were in it. If you liked the first Joker, just like the first Joker, just stop it.
Yeah, I went to the theaters for Folie à Deux as well, and it was Folie à Dud. But it was beautiful to look at, but then ultimately you're like, why did I sit through this? I don't understand. Like, none of the joy of the first film, if you could call it joy, fascination maybe, is in this movie. Yeah.
It seemed like the whole movie could have been handled in about 20 minutes and then moved on to something else instead of this long, drawn out, strange fever dream that they created. So,
fair enough.
The love story is kind of fascinating, like to behold. That element of it with Lady Gaga is actually kind of interesting, but overall, it's just too much of nothing. Yeah,
I agree.
And let's not forget the Penguin on HBO Max, which
Penguin was excellent.
Oh my gosh, that was good.
4 episodes in finally.
My Max subscription I didn't renew it right before Penguin, so now I'm out of the loop. I was like, man,
Should have timed that better, Adam.
But you're missing Holiday Baking Championship now. I did see, and I'm not ashamed to admit it, the Crow remake.
Oh,
And I will say this: it is not a bad movie. Had they just called it The Crow and not made any connection to the original characters, maybe just another installment in the Crow mythology, because it wasn't that bad of a movie. Kind of leans into more the horror, violent aspects of it. But if you're going to start calling your characters Eric and Shelley, then yeah, I could see where people are very upset.
Didn't they set up the Crow, and this is maybe what you were driving at, so that it was like a reincarnating character, so that you can just kind of have like there is a different Crow of this era and a different Crow of that era. Yeah,
right.
It seems like a natural way to go.
Yeah, that's how the various comic books have gone. I think with the original movie with Brandon Lee, they intended on bringing him back. Had that he lived, they would have made a sequel with him in it somehow. Obviously, that didn't work out, so they leaned into the new Crow each time, which is fine because there's some really cool Crow stories out there. And I keep saying it, the Flesh and Blood, which is a female Crow, is a really good story, and I think they should probably explore that if they want to do a Crow movie. So.
I think Adam and I we didn't we read that for the Wizard podcast?
Yeah, so that was actually gifted to us by a Wizard staffer, like a copy they received when it was released. He's like, I've had this for all these years, so I've read that one, and I agree. Like, that's a great one. It only makes sense at this point. Give us a female Crow. Like, you have source material, just go with it. Because, when you get to Wicked Prayer, and you're like, wait, he's from Terminator 2, and now he's the Crow? I don't understand. John Connor is the Crow, huh? Then it's just like, we've gone too far.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this, since we are talking to the guy from the Wizard podcast, X-Men 97.
Oh, that was the best of the year.
That was the best, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for my hard-earned coinage, I think that was probably the best comic book / superhero thing, non-comic book that happened this year. Because it was just the fact that they matched up so well, the animation, I mean, it really was a continuation. They didn't say, okay, we're going to update this, soup up everything, and make it like, it was still a little herky-jerky in the animation, but it got to all of the other storylines that are from comics. I mean, not enough Dazzler. I'm with you,
a lot of
Ali.
people are saying that, yeah.
Is there ever enough Dazzler?
No.
Really, I think that's kind of a constant X-Men refrain.
Yeah.
But yeah. For my money, that was the best thing going this year.
And some legit gut punches watching that. I mean, there were some moments that you're like, whoa, like X-Men 97, like this is
you can
some
spoil it,
heavy
Art.
No. There might be those people out there who didn't see it, and I don't like them getting on my case about it. But
that's
I
one
think
thing.
we can all agree.
$100bandits.com.
I went in with so much cynicism. I was just like, there's no way it's going to be good. I didn't like any of the trailers, and then it just blew me away every episode. I was like, I was wrong. This was great. Now, can they do it again? That's the question. When they come back, I don't know.
With the new showrunner
who did all that. Yeah. So we'll see.
With the new showrunner,
the new showrunner too, we're dealing with. So, what are we going to get?
Yeah, who knows? Might be cool though.
I read that they're going to be continuing like a season 2 with the original showrunners' ideas and concepts, and then season 3, which they've already been renewed for. The new showrunner will kind of take over fully at that point, because they are clearly, they laid the groundwork for a lot of stuff in the first season, and it would be, they really need to follow through on that. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
It's hard to learn lessons from a good show. You know, it's hard enough to learn lessons when something bombs and figure out like how to fix it. But when something's really good, like how do you repeat it without repeating yourself? So yeah, good luck to them. I'm gonna try to lower my expectations just so that I'm not, just crestfallen when it's not as good. But at least we got this season, which was awesome.
And I'm excited for What If Season 3. I'm a big fan of the previous 2 seasons. I think they do such a phenomenal job with some of those stories. I mean, the Doctor Strange story alone was so dark and so twisted at times. So I'm really excited to see where they go with this.
I have to admit, this was the first year I have not watched all the Marvel stuff. Like I
You're out of the club.
I watched X-Men. I watched X-Men. I watched Deadpool. Were you guys slowing my internet speed before?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
we know.
We had a
about
feeling you hadn't watched all the Marvel
Yeah.
stuff, and we're like, this guy's opinions are discounted.
Yeah, I just, even WandaVision, I thought that was a poor start to the first 2 episodes. I could not WandaVision, Agatha. Agatha, yeah, I couldn't get into it.
Yeah, that's the show was the opposite of X-Men 97 for me.
We got a
Agatha
caller.
all along was every episode I liked less.
I like X-Men 97 was peak, and then Deadpool and Wolverine is great, but I don't know. The other stuff is not. Were there other Marvel movies this year even?
Are we forgetting Venom, The Last Ride, people?
I'm trying to.
Last Dance, Oren.
Last
doesn't
Dance.
count.
Sorry.
It does not.
I know you think of dancing as riding, but
I haven't
Birthday.
I haven't seen the movie, but from what I hear, they really kind of lean into all like the real Venom.
Mythos.
Yeah, the Venom mythos, and they have what was they had like a whole Venom storyline that came out maybe like a year
with
or
that
2 ago.
something that starts with K. It's like the main Venom villain, wasn't it? Something like that.
Something like that.
I
And
want to say
apparently,
Titus, but I know that's a band.
yeah, I
No,
forget.
it's no.
Allie,
No.
Allie, you out there? Allie Tarrant.
No.
What is it?
No,
No,
No.
but with a K,
Oh,
like no,
right?
Canol.
no, no.
Yes.
You have to know that it's Canol.
No.
King in Black. There we go, Allie. Thank you so
Right.
much.
Now,
I have not watched one of the Venom movies. I was waiting for the trilogy to be done so I can, marathon
Watch
Really?
it in one
Yeah.
sitting.
Make
Like
a
Lord
night
of the
out.
Rings.
I enjoyed the first one a lot. The second one, I was like, what is happening here? So I didn't bother with the third. I'm just like, no. I love Tom Hardy and Venom, but I just think it's probably too far in the third. It's a little too out there.
My internet cut off, but I was backstage for a bit when I was coming back in on my new on this other computer, and I heard Adam just ripping into Madam Web, which I agree with.
In
I'm
the
not gonna
best
use
way,
it.
though. In the best way. I said I owned it on Blu-ray. I want to watch it over and over again. The train wreck I never want to turn away from.
It does have one of like the best shots when you see all of the spider ladies in it. That is such a cool shot.
That's
Like,
the movie we wanted. And did
That
not
is-
get.
it's
We just
literally-
really wanted that shot, and then we got
That's
it.
it. That's all we
All right.
wanted. And
Moving
then
on.
like Spider Woman coming down, like hanging upside down. It's perfection. That is like by far one of the best frames in any movie.
Yeah.
And it's just
So you're saying the movie
completely
could have been a TikTok?
It could have been. It might as well have been.
Just the 2 scenes,
That's it.
a few seconds, and you're out.
when does that new Superman come out? Because I think Nathan Fillion from The Rookie, he's playing like Guy
Guy
Gardner. Or
There, yeah.
is
Next
that
year.
next year?
Next year. Yeah.
2025, yeah.
Creature Commandos came out.
I have
Yeah.
not
Calm
seen
down.
it.
Calm down, guys.
It's not here in Canada accessible. Like it's not very accessible up here.
Oh,
I
okay.
think- yeah.
I watched the first episode.
Yeah.
And
So moving on, we are going to.
Oh, okay.
It's
One of those?
okay. It's fine.
Is
It's
it potty
20
mouth?
minutes. What's that?
Is it a lot of potty mouth?
No.
Oh.
I mean, there is a lot more man butt that I wanted to see in a cartoon.
Hold on.
I mean,
this is
I
called
was a
Creature
bit-
Commandos, you say?
Yeah, creature.
Joe, you prefer it live action? Is that what you're saying?
It's on
Top of the
HBO Max.
list for Orange.
Orange threshold is quite high for animated nudity.
Adam, you sure you don't want to get that HBO
Caped
Max?
Crusader, like Amazon bringing us Batman the Animated Series again was amazing. Like that, I didn't get to see the Penguin, but I felt like I got my fix by watching Batman Caped Crusader. I loved every episode of that, like delivered constantly, and with just these little tweaks, you know, like of all the characters, new versions you weren't expecting. So good.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. I remember when it was coming out and it was sort of a big deal, and then I didn't really hear much after that. So good or bad. So
You're the first.
I
Adam.
definitely want to dig back into
That's
that.
crazy. Come on, people, give it a watch.
You haven't even
Yeah.
talked about it on the podcast, so
Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, we said, well, not a whole lot has happened or come out, but there is a lot that came out this year. I mean,
Mhm.
you know, Invincible was another one. Let's not forget The Boys.
Yeah, new seasons. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these are all still going on. There's a lot of stuff out there, but there's so much to consume and only so many hours in the day. And, you know, I guess we still need to see our children once in a while.
I mean, did anybody have any strong feelings? I'm sure it's probably the most written about movie of the year, which is Deadpool and Wolverine. But I don't know, anything new to say about it. I mean, it was basically just a Easter egg bonanza.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, I
fan
didn't-
service.
it's fun.
Yeah.
I didn't really care for it. I liked parts, but the whole thing to me was just, you know, kind of Ryan Reynolds being a smartass, and then a lot of fighting, and then some cool things would pop up. And
Look.
Yeah.
Look, Warren.
I'm just saying,
Plot and male nudity, and that's it.
It couldn't live up to the heart of the first film, and the
Right.
second film still had some of that. And this one
Yeah.
has no heart.
I disagree.
It's all wackiness.
I disagree with my co-host.
Oh,
Let's get into it. It's
Let's get into-
Crossfire edition.
You want to see you want to listen to an entertaining podcast? Listen to Wizard, where we fight all the time.
very contentious.
Yeah. No, I actually was quite touched by the movie. I found myself
Wow.
teary-eyed by the end. So, you know, this is first time I'm revealing this to anybody.
strong man.
It's okay.
Mike Crybaby
Lie
Schwartz,
down and-
new nickname on fire.
Hey.
I mean, it depends, I think, on the expectations you brought into it and what you may
Yeah.
have heard and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I thought there were some decent emotional moments, and I like the fan service stuff. I also, like I do with comic books, I saw the movie like probably weeks after it came out. And so I sort of knew what to expect. And so I kind of like lowered my expectations to the basement. And I just kind of like went with the flow and enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, is it a magnum opus? Is it going to change, you know, hearts and minds? Probably not. But you know, what's the Gambit line? I'm a gonna something. I can't remember it.
I think
What's the
point
one
is
that's
not
been
so
memed?
much
Well
like
done.
the
Well done,
movie.
Mike. Well
Yeah.
done.
What's that?
I don't know.
Okay,
if
you
that
can
was
meme
well
me effing up the line completely.
done. No, I think that one of the best lines.
I'm gonna make a
was
name for myself right here.
Wesley.
That was great accent. Did you catch that Cajun accent?
That was good. That was good.
Thank you.
It
You
was-
sound like
best
Jar
line,
Jar
though-
Binks. That's what it
Wesley
sounded
Snipes with his line of "There's only been one blade, and there's ever only going to be one blade." I think that was that was really cool.
So we're gonna end this on a downer of a note and talk
Good
about
job. Good job, Mike. Thanks.
some of the creators that have passed on, just because we want to acknowledge them, and there were a few, you know, major ones, and maybe we can find something, you know, happy to end on after this. But I'll read a couple of them, like a couple we want to probably stop at, or feel free to just jump in. But there was Paul Neary, British comic writer and artist from Mad Men. I remember him most from the Ultimates. He was the inker over who was the Brian Hitch, in the original Ultimates. That's where I knew his name from. He was also the chief editor-in-chief of Marvel UK back when that imprint was going on. Ramona Fradon, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, she was the one of the oldest, I think, or one of the original and oldest female comic book artists. Adventure Comics, Brenda Starr, reporter, co-creator of Metamorpho and Fire. M.D. Bright, who did Iron Man, Green Lantern, Icon. Yeah, he was a great artist. Adam,
Quantum
jump
and
in.
Woody. And that one
Yeah.
hurt me that we're not going to get any more Quantum and Woody from the original team. I was so sad.
Yeah. Trina Robbins, who Oren, you interviewed her,
Yes.
right? Yeah, that was a sad one. Ain't It Me, Babe, women's comics. She did a lot of historical stuff about female creators. Co-wrote Women in Comics, A Century of Women Cartoonists, things of that nature. Let's see, Don Perlin, Werewolf by Night, Ghost of the Spirit, continued Ghostwriter, co-creator of Moon Knight and Bloodshot.
Yep.
And then John Cassaday, which was kind of a shock to us all. Fairly young. I think he was in 52. He died, and I knew him from Planetary. I had met him at the Wicked Con in last year, 2023. And we talked Star Wars. Of course, he was a Star Wars artist in his later years. Just super nice guy. And he just was in his prime, like one of the best artists. Planetary, as I said, Astonishing X-Men was his other, I think, big one with Joss Whedon writing. So that was a big one. And then Greg Hildebrandt, who we also had on the program. Who kind of established a lot of the look for Star Wars along with his brother, and did a lot of painting work for Marvel.
Yeah.
He did the cards. Yeah.
Woo!
Maybe one of the last things I saw him on, I don't know if you guys saw them in your supermarket, but the Oreos Star Wars, the light side versus the dark side, he painted that cover. There may still be in stores, everybody. Wonderful Greg Hildebrandt cover. He died at 85. So, yeah.
I just want to add
farewell. Yeah, please do.
Peter Gillis, the great writer, passed away. One of my favorite stories of all time is a What If. I forget the character's name. Annihilus killed Sue Storm, and basically it had Reed Richards tell Annihilus, all the energy I put into creating these machines and stuff like that for humanity, I'm gonna put into trying to kill you. And it's a very dark Reed Richards, and it was just like I'd never seen a book like that. And he had done so many different things, but he was a big loss as well.
Yeah. So kudos, farewell to our fallen creators. They gave us a lot of great work, and we give them all the respect in the world. Okay, how do we end this on a light note, everybody? Take me back from the darkness. Go ahead, Oren.
What are we looking forward to in 2025?
Good one. Let's end on that.
A new theme
Anybody
song.
got a good one?
A
Well,
new theme song.
What If season 3? I would suspect Oren is going to be one of yours.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. More cons, to get together with people that we meet either through the show or on the internet and stuff like that. It's so, like, when we go to Terrificon, it's so cool bumping into people we interact with, online, and to see them in person. It's an awesome thing, and I think that's such a cool part of this community, is that we get to know these people we've never met before all over the country, and I'm looking forward to meeting more and more of these folks.
I'm going to allow myself to get excited about Superman, even though I think I want to go in with low expectations just to be hopefully pleasantly surprised. But I'm definitely looking forward to that. We could also talk about people that we're still trying to get that we have not been able to get on the program. I mean, Todd McFarlane is a perennial, I think. One day we will get him. One guy I've wanted to get for a while is Jeff Lemire. if that's how you pronounce his last name, who's done all sorts of projects, from independent to mainstream stuff. He has a new sort of a graphic memoir coming out next year, so I'm hopeful that that's going to be the way into getting an interview. So, or if you're listening, hey Jeff, come on the show.
Jeff frequents my LCS quite a bit. Yeah.
Hey Jeff, tell
And
Mike Schwartz that you want to come on our program after you go on theirs. I'm sure you put Wizards ahead of us.
No, usually the way it goes is the person says yes to doing Wizards, and then they come on your show. So that's
good.
That's
Well,
the order
that
of
seems to be
operation.
working well for us. So let's go with that.
Our phone tap is working then. Okay, cool.
Joe, what about you? 2025. Wishes, hopes, and dreams.
So I am planning on getting back into more episodes this year. Had some setbacks here at home that took up my time, so I'm going to be getting back into. You're going to see a lot more of this face around. But in terms of movies and TV, definitely Superman. Also, the Green Lantern series, whenever that gets going.
Oh yeah,
I'm really looking forward to that. And I've said it before, a new theme song. So we can reap the benefits completely of whatever money is coming in.
Musicians out there, please let us know.
If
Send
anybody,
us your clips.
we just need 30 seconds.
Yeah.
That's it. Just 30 seconds.
But
But yeah, that's about it.
Mr. Adam?
Well, if we're starting movies, I'm really looking forward to Thunderbolts. So I think that's going to be a real interesting. Maybe that's a turning point for where the MCU is at. I hope. I don't know.
Thunderbolts asterisk. That's what I was trying to.
Yeah.
Whatever
what
that
is
means.
that going to tell us? What are they going to reveal?
Yeah.
And Red Hulk. Let's not forget Red Hulk.
Oh, Red Hulk and Captain America.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. But like I'm looking forward to reading more Absolute Batman. I again went in very cynical on that one, just saying there's no way you could do a cool Batman story. This art is terrible, and it just blew me away. So I want to get more into that world. And I just picked up Absolute Superman #2. Better than I thought it was going to be. I wasn't going to get it, and I was like, okay, I'm going to grab it, and then I like it. So there's some great continuing stories that are coming out in 2025 that I'm looking forward to. So I'm excited. And if I could swing it, if I could find any more room in my office here, I want that, amalgam omnibus that's coming out, even though I have all the individual issues already.
Yeah.
But I would love to have that, so we'll see.
When does that come out?
I don't know for sure. I just know it got delayed until next year, so I'm waiting for that release date. Yeah, maybe I've missed the announcement.
January, I think, is the new.
Oh, it's already just January.
I think it's January, February. Yeah.
Sweet.
I think at one of these gatherings, maybe the last gathering, we talked about that. We talked about the crossover book. Did the crossover one come out and just the amalgam one got delayed?
Hey, fun fact, Armored Half, that's the other thing to look forward to in 2025. We'll actually have a physical copy and that'll be delivered. But our designer for that book, his payment that he wanted was he didn't want money. He's like, give me the omnibus. We got it right to him.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice. And speaking of Absolute, I'm just before you go, because there are creators there that we Scott Snyder, come on the show. Jason Aaron, come on the show. I'm just going to drop names and be like, come on the show. You guys are always welcome. All right, Mike.
Yeah, whatever you want to call me. I'm really I'm looking forward to Superman. I think that has got to be the one I'm looking forward to most. But when it comes to books, just more Ghost Machine. I'm excited to see what else they have coming out. But also Silverhawks. I'm really excited Silverhawks is coming back in comic book form.
Is it really?
Yeah, from Dynamite.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. But I'm also like Adam, like we just got started in the Absolute universe, but Batman in particular is the one I'm really into. The others I'm kind of on the fence about, but Superman has been really good. but just the whole line. I want to know what their plan is for it, because if you read that all in, it really was like, okay, we're starting this huge story with Darkseid, and then there's been no word of Darkseid at all.
No.
In any of it. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
As are all of we.
What about you, Mike? No.
Didn't I say something?
No, you did. I was making fun of it.
I was like, I have a bad memory, but I think I just
No, you did.
I said a couple things I'm looking for.
You did. I'm just messing around.
I guess I will come to.
All right, let's try this again.
I don't have any words. I'm
Mike just had
going
a
to bring this
medical
to a
emergency.
conclusion. Yes. Thank you, Mike Schwartz and Adam Pope from the Wizards Podcast Guide to Comics. Everybody pick up Armored 1/2, which is currently kickstarting until, remind me again, December 12th?
December 20th. Yep.
December
December
20th. And the final issue of Armored for the first arc comes to comic shops December 18th. So you'll have the full story by December 18th. And then, like Adam said, the half issue will be released to all Kickstarter backers next year. But we're also going to be doing a hardcover of Armored 1 through 5 next year as well. So Clover Press will be kickstarting that probably February with an October release. So it's a long ways away. So if you want to read Armored, read the single issues.
Yes.
And we should say on our Kickstarter, there are bundles of the first 5 issues. If you want to catch up, you're excited about the half issue, but you want to get the whole story. There are a few limited bundles that you can grab. Signed by Mike Schwartz.
You know him. Well, thanks guys for being on the show. Everybody out there, go get all the Armored stuff and continue to get the Armored stuff and continue to listen to Wizards, the podcast guide to comics. They do a phenomenal job. So you're over 100 issues, over 300 episodes. How many issues were did Wizard run?
Ooh, 235.
So you're not even halfway.
Not even. We have so long to go. We calculated this. Michael Canetti, my original co-host, still part of our universe, doing the math. He's like, guys, do you know about our commitment here? It's closer to like 20 years of podcasting. We will see. We'll see what we can do. We're doing our best. But I will say, this is so exciting because a lot of people dropped off in the late 90s and the early 2000s and missed a lot of cool stuff. So if you're feeling like, well, I only cared about Wizard in the 90s, check it out now, because like we said, you're going to be discovering stuff you didn't know about, and now you can go back and find in a back issue bin or whatever you're doing. So that's the excitement of entering the year 2000 in Wizard Magazine. You're like, what was there that nobody was paying attention to? And now you'll know.
But this is my era. I collected and read Wizard, but in the 90s, but I feel like I became a bigger collector in the 2000s. So I don't know.
Time will tell.
Well, we will listen to every era of Wizard, because every era is interesting when you guys are presenting it. So how's that for a nice little?
There you go.
And I gotta say, to be impressed. You said this year the volume of interviews you guys have done. We cannot conceive how you are booking these people and getting such great interviews out of them. You guys are the masters. We love referring people to you. We're like, we could talk to them, but Dollar Bin Bandits already did it. Go on over there. Those guys.
Well, thank you guys. We surely appreciate it. Joe and Oren, thank you guys. Another year in the books of Dollar Bin Bandits. It's been an exciting one, and hopefully we will be on more episodes together next year. That should be our New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
And I guess
as long as we're not at 3:00 in the afternoon, that's fine.
We'll try to find a good time for everybody.
Please.
So yeah, that'll do it for this episode of the Dollar Bin Bandits and the crossover with Wizards. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to both podcasts.
Damn it!
And we'll see you next issue. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.